Alrighty. What's up, everybody? Oh, there she is. Hello. I sent you the invite, but I'm not sure. There we go.
Hey,
How's it going?
good. How are you?
Not bad, just trying to stay warm because it has been absolutely freezing the last couple of
Oh my gosh. I know when 40 sounds warm, then we have a problem. It was like 10 degrees the other day when I left the house. I was like, This is not okay."
Yeah, you know that it's like winter time when like you're saying like 40, it's like, oh yeah, I could probably wear like a short sleeve shirt if it's like that warm outside.
Yep, exactly. I know. It's like I think about what I have to do like when I'm out once because I don't want to go back out again. So I'm like, let me just do everything while I'm out so I can go home and literally throw a robe on and not leave my house.
Super, super relatable. Gotten to the point where it's like, I know the grocery store is around the corner, but it's like if I forget something, I'm like, you know what? I'm good. Like I'll
I
be.
don't need it. I don't need it.
But how's everything going for you though?
It's good. It's good. I feel like 2022, I mean, I feel like there's hype every year around the new year, but like I really intentionally decided to pull back from everything the last year of 2021 and just evaluate and just like take a break and pause and just be like, what do I actually want to do in 2022 and what do I want to remove? What was not working in 2021? So I feel really focused this year and just really clear on like where I want to go, and
Yeah.
I'm just really looking forward to like simplifying my life this year. That's kind of the biggest goal is just to simplify.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I would
Yeah.
say um I have a very hard time like going with the flow because I want to like whatever control everything. So especially with like the holiday season and then everything spiking, like it's been absolutely nuts and it's hard like
Yeah.
be stressed and just like let things happen as they go. So I definitely feel you on that.
Yeah, I totally understand that. I feel like there's a lot of like, at least for me, it feels like almost PTSD, like getting triggered by like, oh my gosh, this
Yeah.
feels like 2 years ago. Like, I don't want to do this again. Like, how
Right.
long are we going to be home? So,
Right.
yeah, I definitely relate to that. And I feel resistance to the things that like are online because I'm like, no, I don't want to go online again. I'm not
Right.
doing it. Screw
Right.
it.
So
So, yeah.
speaking of, how did things like affect you? Like when everything first happened, like how did that affect like your business?
Yeah, it's funny because actually the start of 2020 was when I launched my business. It was literally January 1st. I was like, let's do this. I want to do all in-person events and workshops and really just host retreats in person. And then, COVID hit and I was like, oh, that's not happening.
Right.
So let me see where there's a need in the marketplace and then kind of fill it based on that. So I actually just started on Facebook doing free Facebook Live workouts for people and just like hosting workouts and was just keeping people occupied and keeping them healthy. And then that kind of led into online coaching. I thought I wouldn't like online coaching because you kind of miss the personal connection,
Yeah.
but I really enjoy it. And I'm really glad that I kind of fell into it in a sense.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say for me it's been kind of tough. So I actually went to school for music ed.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and when I graduated, I tried getting all these different teaching jobs and nothing was happening. And luckily, my fiance's uncle owns his own training business over in Hopewell. So I decided to do like
Mm,
him. Um, but then it was tough because it's like once like COVID hit and everything, um, I lost my job over there because everything was just like closing down. And it was hard, like you're saying, like to do the online coaching or maybe do like FaceTime or Zoom because I'm a very hands-on like person. So
yeah.
it was definitely super tough. And I'm like right there with you. I'm like, I don't want things to close down again because it's like, how am I supposed to give all my clients the best product possible if I can't be there to like help them through everything? Um,
Mm.
but also at the same time, I love doing programming and having people like sending me videos of them absolutely smashing weights that they've never hit before. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely there's like new benefits to training online that I didn't think was possible. Like, yeah, having a client in Maryland and having a client in California. Like there's so many cool people that I've been able to meet that I never would have been able to unless it was for online coaching. But I
yeah,
do find that like there are some coaches out there that will just write you a program, be like, okay, go do it. Like no hands-on approach. And
Hmm.
that's one way of coaching. But like I think for you and I, where it is more hands-on and we enjoy being with people and really getting technical with their form, it's like I want to almost be there during the session. Like if
Right.
you need that like immediate feedback, like send me a video. So I found that even reading, trends for 2022, I do see that the online coaching industry is going to really be set apart. Like the coaches that are going to be set apart are the ones that are providing more support and more encouragement and more hands-on approaches, because it's inevitable we're going to be online, but like how are we going to be online and
Yeah.
develop those deep relationships as we're online?
Yeah, and it's funny because it's like hard sometimes because I want to give so much to people. So there'll be times like when my fiance is over and we're supposed to be watching a movie together, and I'm like looking at somebody's like lifting video. She's like, "Put it away." I'm like, "Yeah, like I love doing this so much." It's
Yeah, I totally get that. I think that's something like boundaries is a really big thing I'm trying to set with myself. Cause yeah, it's like 9:30 at night and like, a client, I could get a notification, finish their workout. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to see their new like
yeah,
records. I want to see like what they did. And then like I just feel that little like, like little nudge when I'm just like this supposed to be watching Marvel.
exactly.
So yeah, it's hard setting boundaries when you are doing what you love, but yeah, it's not only like just affecting us, it's like affecting the other people that
Yeah.
we love. And so yeah,
And
yeah,
I
I get
really
that.
appreciate it, especially from like a small business perspective. I've really tried to do more like hands-on and like personal touches to the business, and everybody's been so good to me over the last year, especially when it comes to client retention. Like they appreciate all the effort that you put in for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's awesome.
Um, so I do want to be cognizant of your time. So what are we looking at here?
I'm good for the hour if
Cool.
that
All
works
right.
for you. Yeah.
Well, so I wanted to have this be super beneficial to both your and my clients. My boy Terrence, Building Beasts, I was listening to his talk with I think it's DRM Performance the other day, and they were saying that sometimes it's good to have your own voice. And your clients, yeah, it's one thing like if you send them like a YouTube video, but hearing something from you personally, and it's like, oh, that's my coach, like it has a way more personal touch. So
Hmm.
um, let's start going through some of these. So, what is your preferred style of fitness? Like, what I guess is like the thing that you love to do the most?
Ha. Yeah, this is a tough one because there's so many different ways to work out and so many different ways that I've experienced over the years. And so I would just, I guess, say where I'm currently at is just strength training and just really getting super nitty gritty with like the basics.
Hmm.
Just like really getting good at those, building up my strength for just for me. There's no competition in sight or anything like that. Maybe in the future, maybe at your competition potentially, but for
Oh,
now it's just
no.
yeah. So for now it's really just like getting really good at the basics. Like that's where I'm at, and I'm enjoying that process of just seeing incremental increases over time when it comes to my big lifts. And yeah, I would say that more than anything, just strength training.
Nice.
Yeah. How
So,
about you?
for me personally, when I first started working out, it was all bodybuilding. I'd always struggled with my weight growing up, and it was very hard because it wasn't just like ridicule at like school. Sometimes it was also at home. Um, so from the time I was like 16 until I guess the last couple of years, it was more like bodybuilding slash power building workouts. Because I wanted to be strong. When you see
Yeah.
someone who's like 5'6", who's like pulling double what you can, it's like, all right, well, how come they're so strong?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so more recently, I've been doing way more powerlifting style, and it's cool because um, having all these different coaches and doing different styles of fitness, it makes you way more well-rounded as a coach, and you can relate to people better if they're struggling with something and how to fix it.
For sure. Yeah. One of the things I'm like cautious of is if people have never worked with a coach before and they're coaches, like do you and you hear like, "Oh, I don't need a coach. I know what I'm doing." It's like that might be true, but like if you're not learning, like you're not growing, and if you're not growing, then your clients aren't going to grow because you're only
Right.
capped, at so much. So I think it's so valuable to like that quote, coaches have coaches.
Mhm.
Like I have a coach, you have a coach. We need coaches to help us grow and learn.
Yeah, and it's funny too because I've had clients ask me, they're like, "Hey, like you've been doing this for a while. Why don't you just do everything yourself?" And it's like, yeah, I know enough at this point where I could, but I love having the accountability of a coach. And then the other thing is like sometimes you can think you're either the smartest or the strongest person in a room until you actually step outside of your comfort zone. Like, again, my boys at Too Strong, they came over to my bench competition over the summer, absolutely crushed everybody. It's insane.
Yes.
Um, but it's cool because it's very humbling because we're all doing the same thing and we're just all aiming to get better. So it's the process never really stops, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, so what got you into fitness in the first place, and how long have you been doing it? Because I said I've been doing it since like 16, so about like a decade now.
Yeah. So I played sports all my life growing up, basketball, soccer. I was a major tomboy, like would beg my cousins to play like tackle football with them. They were always like, "No, like you can't, you're a girl." And I was like, "No, let me play." So I would like get my way on the field. But then when it came to college and I stopped playing like organized sports altogether, it was kind of like I have no idea what to do. Like there's a gym, like I guess I'll just like go on a treadmill or I'll just go and do cardio or figure out like what other people are doing. And kind of in college and all throughout, like I would say middle school through college, I struggled with my weight as well. Terrible body image, terrible relationship with food all around. I just was never taught how to like care for myself with food. It was always abused. I just saw it as like something to comfort and something to run to. And then with fitness, again, there was no organization, no structure once sports kind of left. So
Yeah.
my sophomore year was when I really got serious about my fitness. I wound up losing 35 pounds and then being able to keep it off. And the ironic thing was I was in school for health and exercise science at Rowan in South Jersey, and I was taking classes on nutrition. I was taking classes on building habits. I was taking classes on lifting. And all of a sudden it was like just like a lot of like, whoa, like this actually I need to apply this to myself. Like this
Yeah.
isn't for just other people. Like this is actually for me. So through that process and just like having some really awesome mentors and friends that kind of took me under their wing, that's where I started bodybuilding actually before anything else. That's kind of what got me into fitness and just learned from some competitive bodybuilders and just learned the ropes through that. And then ever since then, it's just been a passion of mine that I don't think I will ever live without. So,
That's so awesome. It's not like very often that you have someone that like goes through all these struggles and is so well versed like in all this stuff. So I'm sure your clients appreciate that.
no, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, because I know what they're going through, you
Right,
know?
exactly. Yeah, and it's like same thing for me. When I had just graduated, I got a substitute teaching job over in Hamilton, and I live in Somerset, so it was over an hour commute.
Hmm.
And then I don't know if you know much about Hamilton, but the district is absolutely massive. There's
Really?
17 elementary schools. Um,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, so I taught fourth and fifth grade band, and I was at a different school for each day of the week, and it was so like draining on me. And it's like I would wake up at 6 in the morning, get there at 7:30, and then I wouldn't be home until almost 6 because the traffic on US 1 is so bad.
Yeah.
It made it very difficult to fit fitness into my life. And that's when I ended up gaining so much weight. I was like 50 something pounds overweight. I was like, all right, I got to make this change. I got to get back to not necessarily where I was, but like at a healthy point where I can actually feel proud to call myself a personal trainer and not like
Mm.
be one of those trainers that needs a trainer. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so going through that whole process, I think definitely helps me relate to what people are going through, and also keep like a realistic expectation, if that makes sense, like for everybody's fitness, because I feel like everybody's views are what they see on social media, and they see all these like Gymshark models, and everything gets all screwed up in their head, and it's like, okay, well, why can't I look like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, speaking of fitness myths and opinions, uh, what are your thoughts on fasted cardio versus fed, high intensity interval training, low intensity steady state? Like, what do you normally, well, I guess like what's your opinion and what do you prefer and what do you usually do for your clients?
Yeah. My opinion is that it seems like we magnify a lot of things in any industry, but the fitness industry too. Like if there's research done that shows like fasted cardio burns like two more calories than non-fasted cardio. We're like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh, we have to do fasted cardio. Like it has to happen. So I don't think there's any absurdly better benefits to doing fasted cardio than non-fasted. It's purely just what you enjoy, what you like. If it's 6 a.m. and you don't want to force feed yourself at 5:30, like don't eat, and go do some fasted cardio. But I would say if your focus, it kind of depends on your goal. If your focus is more performance and you're really trying to lift heavier, for example, I think it's beneficial to have something in your stomach before going to lift a ton of weight. A little protein, little carbs, just something so that you're going to preserve muscle, you're going to preserve your recovery time. Everything's just going to be better if you're eating beforehand when you're lifting heavier. But if you're just an average person that's trying to maybe lose a little bit of weight or something like that, it's really your preference, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I am by no means a registered dietitian or like have all this deep knowledge, but from my understanding, and I guess like take this with a grain of salt, like I understand the science behind it, where it's like, okay, you have certain energy systems that your body's using while you're doing this cardio. And if you're doing it fasted and you're doing more of like a low intensity, then it's going to try to use more fat stores than glycogen and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, in reality, it's just as long as you're in a calorie deficit, like you're fine. And I feel like you're saying, people stress so much over I guess I would call like a minor detail. um, and I think that really helped me going through my weight loss, because I wasn't so obsessed over I need to wake up, and even if I feel like garbage, like I need to do this fasted cardio all the time.
Mm.
Has it helped me? For sure. And I tend to prefer doing fasted because I don't like a lot of stuff like sitting in my stomach, but I definitely agree with everything that you said, for sure.
Yeah. And I think for me personally, I'm just really understanding and learning more of the benefits of heart rate training. And that is something that I think it's more like a level 2, 3 type of thing. Like I wouldn't really introduce heart rate training to like beginners, for example.
Yeah.
But for just heart health and just the average, like, hey, I just want to live a good, I want to have a good, healthy quality of life. Like doing training in different heart rate zones is really, really important because you're going to access different systems of the body. You're going to train your heart rate in different zones. So that's beneficial for just strength of the heart at certain higher standards. And then lower, you're working on just more, like you said, emphasizing fat burning and tapping into a different system. So, personally, right now, I'm actually just implementing 2 days of 45 minutes walking in like a very low, I wouldn't even call it moderate, like a low pace where I can like still be on my phone, answer emails, like
Yep.
be on Instagram, like
Yep.
just 45 minutes for pure heart health.
Yeah.
And the benefits that that has long term are incredible. But I think, when I first started out and I was again learning from bodybuilders, it was like, don't do cardio. You don't need cardio. Like,
Yeah.
unless you're trying to cut, you don't need cardio. But I think that's such a like, I guess that's a fault of the fitness industry. And maybe a place where we can improve is like actually teaching people there's other benefits that don't just affect how you look on the outside, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And again, something that you said that I really like harp on all the time is choosing a form of cardio that you enjoy, right? So when the weather's nice outside, I definitely love going for walks. I went for walks with my dad all the time during the summer, and he ended up losing like 15 pounds in a month just from walking.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Wow. That's
but
incredible.
now that it's cold, I ride on the stationary bike while I'm playing video games, and it's like I'm still getting the benefit, but
There
like
you
I'm
go.
having fun, yeah, like while I'm doing it.
Yeah. Hey, I never heard that before, but that makes perfect sense. That is a
Yeah.
really great way to do it. Yeah.
It's just funny though, because it's sometimes I can't tell if my heart rate is high because I'm getting mad that I'm losing, or I'm actually getting a good workout.
Yeah.
So what about fad diets? How I'm sure you have lots of people that come to you that say, I tried this, I tried this, I tried this, and none of it's working, blah blah blah. So um, for me and fad diets, like I hate them so much, and I try to explain to people, um, again, like as long as you're in a deficit, like you're gonna lose weight, you don't have to cut out all these different food groups. But what tends to be your ideals form, and like what's your approach, I guess, when it comes to dieting?
Mm. Yeah, I'm with you. It's very frustrating that like I think it's like kind of sinister the way that like marketing products are pushed and just um, created to make people like prey on their weaknesses and prey on their fears, right? Like, or, their highest dreams is like lose 10 pounds in 10 seconds. Like,
Right.
okay.
Right.
Um, but I think a lot of times, at least with my clients, like they've never been introduced to like, what is this going to do long term? Or like, am I going to be able to sustain this long term? Like, that's not a thought that crosses their mind. It's more just like, how do I lose weight and how do I lose it fast?
Yep.
So for me, I think it's a really powerful opportunity to educate them and just show them like, hey, these are the reasons why these diets didn't work. It's not your fault that you weren't able to stick with drinking lemonade every day. Like, that's
Yeah.
not your fault,
Yeah.
like it's not meant to be sustainable. And I saw this quote from another coach yesterday. It was like, we don't have a weight loss problem. We have a weight maintenance problem.
Yep.
Like, we know how to lose weight for the most part, but we don't know how to maintain it long
Yeah.
term. So fad diets are very annoying. I will steer everyone clear from fad diets, with the exception of there are certain diets that are helpful for certain health conditions, but that's when I would refer out to an RD to kind of help with that.
Yeah.
But overall, fad diets, just don't do it. Just don't do it.
And I think it's so for me personally, when I was in college, I tried intermittent fasting and I
Mm-hmm.
made a lot of progress with that. But like looking back, I realized I was eating very clean.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was restricting my hours, I had to be in a deficit because I couldn't eat like whenever I wanted. You know what I mean? And then on top of that,
Yeah.
college, I was walking everywhere. And I lived on the
Mm.
opposite side of the music building, so I was burning so much. And like looking back, it's like, oh, it wasn't IF that actually worked. It was me being in a deficit. And so the other thing that I really can't stand is um, like what's the word? Carbophobes. Like everybody,
Mm.
carbs are the enemy, this and that, and so then they hop on the keto diet. And it's frustrating because it's like, yes, they're going to lose weight very fast because you're not storing as much water and muscle glycogen. So let's say you lose like 8 pounds in the first week, but then like saying like, can you sustain that? And how are you going to feel when you're on that diet? For me, I feel like complete trash when I go in for a lift if I don't have any carbs in my system. Uh,
Yeah.
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 So again, everything you're saying, like I'm right there with you for sure.
Yeah, I know there's certain things out there where like I guess one of my red flags is like if someone or a certain diet is like, this is the only way. Like, that's just not true. So that's always like a really big red flag for me, and something I tell clients is, again, like, you have to know the reason these people are losing weight is because they're in a calorie deficit. Like, you
Yeah,
can do the same thing eating the foods that you enjoy,
exactly.
like have your Rice Krispie treat, have your Oreos, like in moderation, it's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So what about you personally? Like, um, I don't want to like spill like all your secrets, but like what tends to be your approach when it comes to dieting or like maintaining a certain healthy weight?
Yeah, I'm very big on that middle ground. 80% of the time, eat whole foods, eat really great quality nutrients. And then 20% of the time, give yourself that space to, go out to dinner and not worry about tracking calories or anything like that. Like, have fried fish, like whatever. Just make sure it's way less frequent than the amount of times that you're eating really great quality food and nutrients.
Yeah.
And I think because I've been on both sides of the spectrum, where I literally only ate like ground turkey and chicken and rice and brown rice, broccoli, sriracha if I was feeling crazy, and I was miserable, like there was no wonder I was like, just miserable, not making progress, because I was just like overdoing it. I was overtraining, I was under eating, and then yeah, a whole host of things. But I was on that side of the spectrum. And then I was also on the other side where I didn't give a crap about what I ate, treated my body like a garbage can, and
Yep.
just like fast food every meal, So I found that middle ground, and it definitely leans more towards like the clean eating side. But I'm human. I love Chick-fil-A. I will never stop eating
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A, but
Thoughts.
but
That's
but I do just make sure that it is in moderation.
cool. Yeah, I would say so for me personally, I tend to be a little more strict. Um, and I definitely take more of like that bodybuilder approach. Just because like my schedule's so crazy, if I don't prep my meals, I'm going to cave into, oh, it's so much easier to go to Wendy's and get two 4 for 4s and blah blah blah. Um,
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like again, like for me, my top priority tends to be like I want to get stronger, I want to lift weights. So I need to make sure that I hit these macros before my lift, or I have to have like a certain hydration. Is that
Hmm.
realistic for everyone? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I know it's funny because my parents have been there like through my weight loss journey. They're like, I don't know how you can eat so much asparagus if you hate it, blah blah blah. I'm like, I know, but like I know that it's good for me. I know it's going to be good fuel for my body as I'm going through. But I love your approach, like everything in moderation for sure, because I think that's way more realistic for people to abide by long term, for sure.
Yeah. And I think there's such a powerful like skill to be learned by tracking your food and just like a learning component. I do think that like I used to be like, no, you don't have to track, just go by your hand portions and things like that. But in reality, I can't tell the difference between, 32 grams of peanut butter and 64. Like I'm always eating the 64 without knowing. So I think it's a really powerful thing to know that you can choose certain methods or styles or nutrition um, you know, lifestyles that work for you, but it doesn't have to be forever. Like you don't have to be
Right.
married to that opinion, to that way of eating. It could just be for you to try it out and experiment. And if it works for you, great. And if it doesn't, like change it up. But I think the discipline is a skill that, especially when it comes to hitting fitness goals, is very needed and something that I think we should all work on for sure at some point in our fitness journey.
Yeah, and I think it's tough because so for example, when people see like transformation posts and then they look at the timeline, they don't necessarily realize everything that goes into it. And again, like the one thing that I really love that you're saying is like sustainability. So for me, like yes, I could lose 51 pounds and what was it, like 6 or 7 months, but it's like, okay, well, can I maintain this lifestyle? How did I feel when I was at my leanest? Is this a healthy set point for my body? And I feel like some
Mm,
don't really think about that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
only around 13 to 15% body fat, I usually feel pretty good.
Hmm.
Anything under that, brain fog is serious. My performance suffers in the weight room. It's so hard to get the cardio because I'm so tired all the time. So again, like everything you're saying, like I love it. Definitely too far.
Yeah. What would you, if you could, Alex, just explain a little bit more about like that set point of your body, like yeah, I would love to hear like your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so essentially, from my understanding, again, like I'm not like I don't have like a bachelor's or whatever, doctorate and all this stuff, but from my understanding, each person has a genetic set point for where their body is going to be happy, like the certain body fat level. Some people are genetically predisposed or whatever it's called to having lower body fat percentages and they can function very, very well. Other people are more geared towards having higher body fat percentages and it's very, very hard for them to lose that weight and actually function properly.
Mm.
For me, I tend to be, what's it called? I think an endomorph. So it's like I
Hmm.
can pack on muscle pretty easily, but it's kind of hard for me to be lean. Um,
Yeah.
and again, like that's why I also do like my stricter lifestyle because as long as I'm able to put in the work, I can usually maintain that. But again, like everybody is built differently. So you can't expect to have the same experience or the same diet, the same workout routine as somebody else and get those results.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's such a powerful encouragement. And I think it's just like like when I was starting out my journey and I was looking at, I had people on my phone screen that I wanted to look like, but realistically, like I was never going to look like them, even if I did everything perfectly, even if I, had all the supplements in the world, like my body type structurally was not made that way. So
Right.
I love that you're speaking to that and I think it can bring a lot of freedom to people to know like, oh, I don't have to try to force myself into that mold. Like I'm actually a completely different mold and that's a great thing and I think something that should be celebrated and not like feared or and that's another reason why we can't compare ourselves to other
Yeah,
people,
exactly.
right?
And sometimes, like, yeah, it can be a hard pill to swallow if it's like, I want to look like this Gymshark model. And it's like, okay, well, dude, like, you're not built like that. Like, you can't, like, you can get to that point, but again, it's not sustainable. And you're going to feel
Mm,
complete trash once you get there. So
yeah.
definitely agree, like, with what you're saying. It's like, okay, listen, think about what your dream physique is and try to get like part of the way, because you're going to feel so much better. You're going to be so much happier. You're going to appreciate how much better you look, but you're also not going to have to suffer. So it's definitely super.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And that brings me like to the thought of just having goals that aren't just on the scale, because the scale is, I mean, we can go on about the scale for a long time. I won't start on that topic, but um just having a different variety of goals so that you can work towards performance goals. You can work towards aesthetic goals, that's fine. But I think having a variety actually empowers you and sets you up more for success than just having, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to lose 10
Right.
pounds.
Right. Yeah, and I mean everybody suffers through it, but for me, I remember working with my coach for the second weight loss that we tried. And I told him, I'm like, yeah, I want to get back down to where I was last time, blah, blah, blah. But then once I got there, um, I only had 4 more pounds to lose before I fit into a certain powerlifting weight class. So I was like, oh, I can do this. So I used to wrestle. So when it comes to cutting
Mhm.
weight, like my weight fluctuates like crazy, which is, we
Yeah.
should talk about that next, was because people have misconceptions about it. But in order to get those last 4 pounds, I had to really dehydrate myself. And I'm like, wow, like I can kind of handle being hungry, but when I'm dehydrated, like I feel absolutely terrible. Again,
Mm.
brain fog was crazy and I just couldn't function properly. And I'm like, this is not healthy. It's not realistic for me to maintain this. Is it cool that I kind of was able to hit my goal? Sure, but I definitely wouldn't say that it was worth it. Um,
Yeah. And what do you think for you personally? Like, is it more satisfying for you to reach like a weight goal, or is it more satisfying for you to like hit a new PR when it comes to like deadlifting? Like, which one would you say has more satisfaction?
That's that's a tough one because I have a huge like wrestling mentality where it's like I want to weigh the least amount possible, but be the strongest that I can be in that weight.
Hmm.
Um, but I would probably say definitely hitting like a new PR is way more satisfying because I've been working at it for so long. And again, like your weight can fluctuate somewhere between, for me personally, it can be like somewhere between like 2 to 12 pounds on any given day, depending on my hydration, how much food I ate, blah, blah, blah. Um,
Yeah.
I would definitely say, yeah, hitting a new PR for sure.
Cool. Cool. Just curious.
Yeah. Um, so what tips would you give someone who's struggling to lose weight? It's funny because I was actually talking to my friend's mom the other day, and she's like, "Oh, I've hit this plateau. I'm not really sure what to do, blah, blah, blah." And we were having a whole back and forth thing about it. So what would you say to someone who's struggling with a weight plateau right now?
Hmm.
I know
I
it's a broad question, like there's a lot, but
Yeah, yeah. First thing I would do is probably just like take a step back and just observe like their current methods of trying to lose weight. How long have they been trying to lose weight? What method are they on? Some really strict diet? How many days of exercise are they getting? How's their sleep? Like I'm usually one to just like go back to the drawing board and just kind of evaluate everything as a whole. And then kind of make changes from there little by little versus like, okay, this one thing isn't working, but I'm just going to throw everything out the window and try
right,
something totally new. Like, usually it's those minor tweaks that make all the difference. Like, maybe it's just, swapping out like one type of creamer for another. Like, I don't know their calorie,
yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
it's a broad question, but I would say my approach personally and what I would encourage someone to do is just like take a step back if they're not working with someone to maybe hire a professional if they're stuck at a plateau, and then work with them to get through that plateau.
Yeah, I've tried to find like all like the different like hacks over the years, and it's like really funny. I'm not really sure of your opinions on like artificial sweeteners, but for me, I'm like a big like, listen, would you rather have the 200 plus calories from this one can of soda, or would you rather have like a diet soda and save yourself all those calories?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd probably say um, trying to find lower calorie dense foods that allow you to be full or that you can enjoy in place of the other. That being said, I love peanut butter. I can't imagine like giving it up. Like Reese's cups are like my go-to. Like,
Yes.
um, what about? So I know part of our job as fitness professionals is to help others when they're struggling and help them find the motivation, encourage them. But what about you personally? Like, how do you get through times when you're just like, listen, I don't want to get up. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to do this cardio. Like, what tends to give you your personal motivation?
Um, yeah, that's a good question. I think it's just taking my emotions out of it sometimes is really helpful. Like you don't like you already committed, excuse me, to going to the gym or you already committed to this meal or whatever it is. Like just do it. Like that's it. There's no, don't think about it too much. Don't invest too much into it. Like it's really simple. Like just get in the car and go. It has become more simple, but I would say don't try to rely on motivation, try to rely on discipline. And that I think is when everything changes, when you honor your commitment that you made to yourself and you just do it.
Yep. Love it, love it, love it so much. I'm a huge believer of discipline over motivation because motivation is so fleeting. Let's say you have
Mhm.
a great workout. All right, cool. Like I'm back in it the next day. But then if you have a workout where you're really struggling, or again, you can't fit in your schedule and it's very demoralizing, it's like, hey, like strap up your boots, just get back in it. Like it's a marathon, it's not a race. Um,
Yeah.
or
Yeah. And then I honestly use a lot of prayer also to like
yes,
kind of get me into it and like kind of change my mindset around it because there's a lot of hard things that I think God has done for us over the years that I can never repay him for, and not that I'm trying to, but I think just like really having that deeper connection to why I'm doing what I'm doing helps me to kind of turn my mindset around as well.
definitely, definitely having that bigger purpose for sure. And I would also say probably, well, two things. Like we already talked about having like a coach for yourself, so having that accountability helps, but also just a good community in general. So, for example, like what you and I are doing right now is very helpful. Yes, for other people to get the information, but like it's kind of cool knowing that there's someone else I can talk to if I'm struggling with stuff that's also like doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, there's a lot of especially in any type of industry where you're like one-on-one with people or you're really like pouring into people, it can sometimes like get exhausting to, forget that you also have needs and forget that you also have to take care of yourself too. So I think a community is super powerful and super helpful for that too, to it when you get stuck or you get, or you're like feeling down, it's like just reach out and know that people are going through the same thing you're going through. And yeah, that kind of helps make everything better.
Definitely. So, give us a little more about yourself. So, what are your fitness goals for 2022?
Yeah. All right. So I really want to get a muscle up this year. That's like
Right?
my biggest goal. Yeah. If you guys don't know what a muscle up is, just Google it and you'll see it's like a pull up to then pressing yourself over the bar. But it's just a really powerful movement. I feel like that's something that I just like to be able to do pull ups was something I started with during quarantine where I could do a few, but I never really like tried to do them.
Yeah.
So I got 10 over quarantine, and that's been like I've been building upon that ever since, just with consistency and practice. And then I just have really big like squat. I want to put on 5 pounds of muscle between now and fall. I think that's really doable. If I get more than that, great, but 5 pounds minimum. And then just to get my squat up, like to be able to squat minimum. I mean, I'm like really close to my body weight right now, so I'm sure that's gonna, I'm gonna hit that really soon, but then I'll reset goals from there. I'm a big proponent in doing like very small goals first where I know I'm going to achieve them. Like I have my step goal right now for 7,000. Like it's kind of a joke because like I'm going to get 7,000 if I just like go do things. So, but I think I'm going to do that for January and then I'll go up to 7,500 and then just like keep increasing from there. So that's kind of my approach. But yes, to answer your question, squatting, body weight, getting a muscle up, and then 5 pounds of muscle. Those are my three goals. How about you?
That's a tough one. So, for me, the hardest part is finding balance between really pushing hard to get certain numbers, but then also listening to my body. I tend to suffer from elbow tendonitis if I'm like benching too often or if I'm low bar squatting too often. So, first goal is to auto regulate more, like listen to my body more and pay attention to it. Don't do anything stupid. But outside of that, I really want to get back to a 225 overhead press. I did it when I was like upper 200s, but right now I'm under 200 pounds. So it's like to still hit that overhead press at a lighter body weight would be phenomenal. Um, my bench, I would like to get to somewhere between 385 to 405. But again, like that's kind of, I'll have to see how my elbows feel. My squat, I want to squat 500. Last year, my boy Jalen came through, and it was funny because we had a power bar, so it was like kind of stiff, but we had to use bumper plates, so the bar was
Mhm.
super flexy, and he was
Mm,
able to squat 500. So I'm like, I got to catch up to him. And then
dang.
deadlift wise, I've been stuck at a 525 deadlift for the last like year or so.
Hmm.
So I want to pull anything over 525, like I'll be happy.
Yeah, 526.
Yeah,
520.
exactly. Oh my
Those little baby plates. I love those.
God, definitely. Um, Other than that, just stay healthy and keep up the cardio. Same as you, like I've been in the mindset where it's like weights over everything, and it's like who needs cardio if I can put on more muscle, and then my BMR is higher, so then I don't need to do the cardio to burn off the weight. But again, like I'm so much more focused on health versus how I look now. So definitely need to keep that mentality.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah. And Alex, you kind of asked me this question in regards to weight loss, but like, what would you say to someone who is maybe like in a rut right now when it comes to caring for themselves or working out or yeah, they've just lost like motivation, they've lost passion and they've been having a hard time getting back into caring for themselves in this way. What advice would you give them?
I would probably say to take the approach that you just mentioned, where it's like give yourself achievable goals and take these small wins, so that way they add up. I feel like too many people are like, I want to lose 30 pounds, I want to be shredded, I want to lift all the weight in the world, and I want to do it in 3 months, and it's like that's that's not gonna happen. Like, so I would say do something measurable and achievable, but it's also realistic. And I feel like once people start to get a taste of the process and it's like constantly bettering yourself, like they get hooked. Um,
Hmm.
and again, like you're saying, like it's hard, like once you fall out to get back to it. But again, start small, get these small wins, and then just let it keep on adding up.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned the process because that's something I'm like a huge fan of bringing attention to is the fact that like you're like you start and then you have like this end goal, but there's so much time and effort and like joy that can be found in that process and so much you can discover about yourself. So like I would say to someone to like find ways to enjoy the process more, whether that's like, you know, having an accountability partner that you go to the gym with, or playing your favorite music when you go to the gym, or watching a show while you watch cardio, like whatever, or while you do cardio, whatever it is, just finding ways to like actually enjoy the process because you're going to spend way more time in the process than you are getting to that goal. And then when you get to that goal, you're like, all right, like that was cool, but like
Yeah,
now what? You know, then you're going to be like looking for the next one. So, yeah, enjoy the process.
definitely. Um, this is kind of like similar, but like with how crazy everything is, what words of encouragement can you give to someone who's struggling with their fitness journey? Between things shutting down or again like cases spiking and it's difficult to have the space where you're able to do the things that you want to do. What words of encouragement would you give someone struggling with their fitness journey?
Mm. I would say to try something new. I think like the last 2 years have kind of proved that there are a lot of new things out there, whether that's, you know, if you're able to, you know, purchase a new type of equipment that you maybe like to do at the gym, but it wasn't something you did a lot, but you really enjoyed it. Or if you're able to, you know, invest in like a subscription where you're able to just like hop on a video and do new movements that you maybe haven't done before. I think it's really important like to prioritize our mental health in this time because I know for me like when the quarantine happened, like I didn't work out for like 3 months seriously. Like I was moving, I was going for walks, I was doing things, but I just could not like lift weights at home. It was just so hard for me. So when the gyms opened up, it was like, thank you, Jesus, because it was really mentally hard because I like you work from home, you eat, you sleep, you do everything at home, and then to then work out there, I was like, it's just I can't do it. But yeah, I would say to people to really just prioritize their mental health or find ways that they enjoy moving their bodies. If they're feeling that resistance to doing it at home or they don't have the resources, like there's resources out there. And if you, I'm gonna slow down. I think the caffeine's kicking in. I haven't been drinking caffeine lately, so I'm having tea now. But I would say to like reflect and find what's like most enjoyable to you and then find ways to bring that in. So
Yeah.
even if like I have one client right before this where she loves kickboxing, but she hasn't been to a gym. So we've been doing online training for the past almost a full year now. And she like we did kickboxing today and like it's not like I don't know, I've never done kickboxing, but like I could figure it out. Like we're gonna kick. I have a boxing background, so like we'll box. And she just like lit up with joy. Like she loved the workout, just all from adding in some kicks. So just finding what you really enjoy and doing more of that.
Nice. Yeah, I love that answer. So for me, God has been very, very good to me throughout the whole pandemic. When the pandemic first hit, yes, I lost my job, but I was actually still able to work out at the studio that I worked at before
Mm.
things closed down. And then after that closed down, one of my best friends had like a home gym at the time. So I was able to work out with him and his girlfriend. And then we slowly kind of built things up. And that's actually how I got started in my business in the first place. Um, so I feel like it's very, not for me personally, but it's hard to sympathize sometimes, like if you have these things like given to you, you know what
Mm.
I mean? And not like think about, okay, like I'm actually very lucky to be in this situation. So for me, I try to, again, put God first, but then also be appreciative of all the different things that I have at my disposal. Because it's like not everybody has this stuff. Not everybody is able to do what we're able to do. So,
Yeah, very true. Real quick, Alex, just because I thought this was pertinent. So over the first quarantine, I actually won a rower on Instagram.
what?
Yeah, it was crazy. My sister tagged me in a post, and it was someone that she follows, and he has like a million followers. So I was like, let me enter. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm not gonna win. And then they like reached out and they're like, what's your address? And I was like, this is sketchy, but I'm gonna try anyways. And then I was like, as long as they don't ask for a credit card number. And then the next, like, I think it was the next week, the guy called and was like, hi, we're here to deliver your rower. I was like, what? So that
That's
was a really cool thing over the pandemic too, where it was like, wow, I want a rower.
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, do you have any other questions for me? Is there any other things that you want to talk about?
I think we covered a lot of topics today. I guess we could throw it out there to anybody watching if they have any questions that maybe or things that we talked on that anybody wants more info about or clarity on. But no, I think those are the big things. I just love the conversation we have. It's a lot about like not just looking good, but like how to care for yourself, how to be healthy, how to be strong. Oh, yes. Did we talk about fad diets? That was the question that just came in. Yes, we did.
We're both in agreement that we don't like fad diets and that they're very unrealistic for people to maintain their health. Yes, some of them can help you lose weight quick, but again, it's not something that you can hold on to for the rest of your
Yep, that was a great summary. Great summary.
life. Any other questions from anybody? Um, I guess while they're thinking about things, I just want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to talk to me, to give out all this information to help spread awareness. Um, yeah, this has been a lot of fun. I'm really
Yeah.
glad I did this.
Yeah, me too. I appreciate the opportunity too. And yeah, maybe in the future we could do a talk or maybe like some, I don't know, like form school or something on certain big lifts because I know like my clients would benefit from that for sure. Just like, deadlift form and squat form and things like that. So that could be a cool way we can partner in the future. But I really appreciate the opportunity as well and enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty, well, I won't hold you. I have to get ready. I'm actually going to be filming some content with my, I guess you can call him like videographer. But
Cool.
again, thank you for everything. And yeah, hopefully we can do this again sometime soon.
Yeah, and thanks for tuning in, everybody. This was so much fun. See ya.
See ya.